Boom, boom, boom! Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cheltenham Bandit. It's your man again. We have got the Big Bandit on the phone. Can you hear us, Mr. Bandit?
Yes.
Can hear you loud and clear. You've no background noise for once. I think we dropped you off on one of the last episodes, didn't we? We just carried on regardless.
There you go.
Well, we've opened up with a boom, boom, boom there, Mr. Bandit. Free bets have been... It's been raining free bets, hasn't it?
It certainly has.
I know Mr. C's been telling us it's been raining news on the old Twitter, but we've been raining free bets, haven't we? In fact, it was down to Mr. C, because I was working away. He tipped me off that one of the quizzes we were on, and he were happy he got a tenner out of it, but the Bandit got 40 quid out of it. So as you can see, we started keeping some money to one side, so we've got £1,806 on, but the bets where we're winning on spins, like these horse predictors, where we've got cash, what doesn't expire. Some of these free bets do expire. We've 1,926, so we've around 120 quid. What's sitting in accounts, what's come off free spins, etc. in cash. So we're in a good position, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
It's been raining in. There's lots more Cheltenham shows on the old YouTube that I've been listening to. One of the guys smoking Cheltenham. You might not get much praise, that guy, but it's quite a laid back show that he does, Mr. Smoking Cheltenham, and he comes out with one or two things that you sort of want to follow. He's got his own style, like, but yeah, it's a good listen. So I've told you, the Big Bandit, I've told you to get a few horses ready as day 2. So this episode is going to be the Big Bandits, day 2 main horses at this stage of the year, 25th of September. So you've got your day 2 horses, haven't you, Mr. Bandit?
Yes, I've only got 3 races though.
Well, we've got it's your day 2 biggest horses that you've got money on at this stage. As normal, the main Bandit myself, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, so although we're going to talk about some day 2 horses, I'm going to throw a few wildcards that I've started putting in multiples, picked up off a few other people and started looking into that I want to have a good bet on. So over to you, Mr. Bandit. What's in your thoughts? Because I know you've watched all the Cheltenham races back from last year, haven't you? So what's in your thoughts with some of these horses? What you're looking at?
These are just the horses that I've been backing.
In the Ballymore?
In the Ballymore, I've been obviously backing Ballyburn at 6-1.
Now that Ballyburn's a Mullins horse. I was in Punchestown actually when it ran. I was at the festival when it won that last race of the day. It went off even money like, but yeah, I think that's... Don't we think if it runs really well first time out, it might end up in the Supreme, this horse, and if it doesn't run so startling, then it might be in the Ballymore. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I think that's why we like to do a bit of spread betting this time of year, because no one knows for certain where things are going to go, and
They're going to come out. No, you don't know how they're going to come out early on.
if this horse really rips up, it might end up getting pushed towards the Supreme.
It just depends what Willie Mullins has got for the Supreme. He might have something really special for the Supreme, and want to win the Ballymore as well. There's a lot of factors what could come about. Yeah.
So next horse that you're going to talk about for the Ballymore is it Factor File?
It's Factor File, the next horse I've been backing. That's about 8-1 with Sky.
Now,
it was very unlucky.
Is this where the race where there's a big bump? Was it the bumper where Dream to Share won, but they all bumped?
The bumper against a Dream to Share, but 3 horses all collided. A Dream to Share just shot free. But the only one to really press on after that was Factor File. So if it hadn't had the bump, it may have even won the bumper.
Again, Mullins trained horse, so
wherever Factor File goes, it should be on it. Factor File.
I think it's a good one to start having a few multiples, especially for the Ballymore. A Dream to Share, in my eyes, gets sent to the Supreme, but yeah, I think you're out with that. I've watched the race back, like you said, after you'd noticed that, and yeah. And what's your third horse for the Ballymore that you have a tickle with?
Is Mersey West at 16-1.
Well, we talked about that quite extensively on one of my last episodes, didn't we? For the Supreme, actually, which 20-1 for the Supreme, and I think it was the lads at Let's Talk Racing. They were talking up an horse what came third or fourth in a race what Mersey West won. And I think I commented to them, all you've done is remind me how good Mersey West can potentially be and how good it looked in that race. So, again, I think that might be a bit like Ballyburn. If it rips up the fields where it turns out, it might end up in the Supreme, but if they think the Supreme's too hot, it's good. I think it's good having that in both, isn't it? Supreme and Ballymore.
Yeah. Well, I think all three you can back in both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're very, really contested races.
So that's a bit of a summary on the Ballymore. You wanted to talk about the Browns, did you? The Brown Advisory.
The Brown Advisory's next year. We're
Saying that, before you move on to Brown Advisory, we have had a tickle on some of our joint bets on In the Water side. That's the Nichols horse you got given when you were down at the stable, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the Ballymore.
Is it in the Ballymore?
Yeah, it's 20-1.
Anyway, I think Stay Away Fair, it could win the Browns, it could be in the National Chase, or it could be in the Turners. What normally happens with me is if I back them in the Browns, they're running the Turners. If I back them in the Turners, they're running the Browns.
So what are you saying? Back Stay Away for the Turners?
It could be, I've been very unlucky with the Browns Advisory over the years. I've backed horses with free bets and they haven't run it.
I think that's why we've started a bit earlier this year. We started on 19th of March, didn't we? And we really are putting these in quite a few spread bets.
Not easy races to find the runner, the man, the winner.
So you'd Stay Away Fair, what you having a tickle within the Browns, are you?
Corbett's Cross at 11, that's 10-1 Stay Away Fair. Corbett's Cross 11-1 with Sky.
Yeah, I imagine most people have got that in quite a few bets for the Browns. And the one you wanted to speak about was Salvador Ziggy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Salvador Ziggy's a bit classed as outsider, which is 16-1.
Yeah, I think with Salvador Ziggy, it's probably going to be national unto all the Browns, isn't it?
Yeah, one of those. It's just.
I think it's favourite for the national hunt, actually.
Is it favourite now?
Yeah, it's 8-1.
I've seen it's favourite at 10-1 somewhere, I think.
Yeah, well that's it. This time of year, with the bookies money, spread bet responsibly. So yeah, I know. Before we get on to the Queen Mother, we'll finish up on the Queen Mother. I've chucked a few curveballs in here for you, Mr. Bandit. So I was listening to the guy at Smoking Cheltenham. I don't know if he'll watch this show, but he's got his own style. But you sort of relax into his show, and he was talking about two horses. What I've started putting in my latest free bets that expire and me accumulators that I do regularly. One of them, I was backing. I think you were backing it actually. Love Envoi, which is the Harry Fry trained horse. We were backing it a little bit. We had a bit on it last year, but since he spoke about it, and he was speaking about the Mersey Hurdle, sort of saying, look, Lossimo's favourite for that at the minute, and how's it going to fare this year? Which he's got a good point. Same with Ashrow, what Lossimo beat last year. So then you look. Love Envoi, if you're looking at value, it's 12-1 on Bet365 for the Mersey Hurdle, and only beaten, by a class act, I suppose, Honeysuckle, by 1.5 lengths last year. So second of the race last year, another year older, it's 7. What do you think, Mr. Bandit? Love Envoi?
It's a good chance, isn't it? Love Envoi.
I'll
see it entered in a few more races as well, though.
Well, yeah, this is it. But he ran in the Mersey Hurdle last year and came second. So perhaps with Honeysuckle not being there, they might fancy the chances.
Might go for that then, yeah. That might be.
I think it's one of them. I think Lossimo is going to dominate the betting in that race. People are going to really hammer Lossimo, but anything can happen as always at Cheltenham. And I think it's going to be up there in the first three. I think came second last year, so it's going to be there or thereabouts. So, Love Envoi 12-1. I think you started backing a few on it a few months ago, but recently I've hammered it in a few more bets.
Yeah, I've had it in a fair few bets.
And also what sort of, I suppose, Gold Cup, we've had quite a few, obviously, like we always do. It's our big race. Obviously, start off with galloping. Then we've had Brave Man's Game. We had a speller back in Jericho Long, didn't we? In a few anti-post bets, because we like having 5 or 6 gets to the Gold Cup. We like having, if this horse wins with £3,000, if this wins with 10 grand, we do try and build up a lot of multiples to the Gold Cup. But one horse I hadn't backed yet, and it just sort of slipped my radar a little bit. It's Fast or Slow, and I think when you're looking at value, Galloping the Champs, considering does a Gold Cup take it out the horse when it wins it? Yes, it did, because it obviously got beat at Punchestown by Fast or Slow. And you look at Fast or Slow, came second to Court Rambler last year at Cheltenham, where Court Rambler just came right at the last minute with a neck, and then went on after that run in the Gold Cup to beat Galloping the Champ at Punchestown. So there's an argument, by winning the Gold Cup how it did as Galloping the Champ, okay, probably was. It might get back to its best for Cheltenham this year with the right sort of route to Cheltenham, but this horse is capable of beating it, and at 16 to 1, I think you've got a bit of value, especially each way. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Horse what's beat Galloping the Champs, 16 to 1. I don't think that's going to be 16 to 1 come the festival if it's in the Gold Cup.
No, they are going to win those horses.
No, I think that's what we're looking at the minute is the value at 6 to 4 on Galloping the Champs. You might get a boost on Bet365, 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 on the day. So I think the way I'm looking at it is each way multiples, or on the nose if you like to be on the nose, Fast or Slow Gold Cup. Thanks to Mr. Smoking Cheltenham who got me looking at it. And yeah, I agree with it. I think it's, when you're looking at value in these anti-post markets, we're going to start having a good tickle with it anyway.
Anyone backing single on the Galloping the Champ, I think you'll get a better price on the day than what you will now. Yeah,
definitely. So I think our decision now is we've got it in enough. We've got it in a few. We like, before the markets start opening, when it's March and April, we do put horses in that we know is going to be there. But I think we've got enough on it, haven't we?
Yeah.
And then before you get onto your final part, I was just going to talk about Dysart Enos, and this is the Fergal O'Brien horse, which it romped him by 9 lengths at Aintree, and I've heard a few people sort of, talking about how's it going to handle, Cheltenham and being, it won a national lump flat, so there's obviously question marks when it goes hurdling, but it won that so impressively that I think at 6 to 1 for the Mersey novice. Some people say it's not good value. I'm going to start having this in a few bets. Have you had any bets on that, Mr. Bandit, so far?
Yeah, well, I've seen a couple. I think that.
Yeah, it just won so impressively. I looked it up after hearing it on a few shows, and people who were talking about, this is where opinions. Everyone has a different opinion. I think 6 to 1's decent value. I agree. Galloping the Champ at the minute, yeah, there's better value, but I think the way this horse won, also at Market Raising, it beat Queen's Gamble in the February last year. So, yeah, I've had a tickle on that as well. So you're on to your third race, aren't you now, Mr. Bandit?
Yeah, well, the third race is the Queen Mother Chase. I think everybody knows it's a 2-horse race. El Fabiolo and Energumene. El Fabiolo is 11 to 8. Energumene is 3 to 1. Now, between the two, I'd say it's about a 50-50 chance which one was going to win. So, Energumene is good value at 3 to 1. It's really good value. When you watch how it won last year, it won easy. It bombed it last year.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think there's an El Fabiolo sort of bandwagon, if you like, rightly so. But it'd be interesting if they come up against each other during the year. So I think probably now's the time. If El Fabiolo beats Energumene, I think the price will stay roughly the same. But Energumene, if Energumene wins, it's going to go in.
If Energumene beats El Fabiolo, they'll probably reverse those prices.
Yeah.
So nobody knows until the time. But as it stands now, I think Energumene is a good price for it to 1.
Yeah.
It's a good price. I wouldn't say there's much in the horses.
Okay, so there's a few day 2 horses from the Big Bandit and a few off-piece sections from myself. Aurora Vega, what you spoke about last time, I've not got the bets on. I need to write them in, but I've put it in a couple of bets for the Dawn Numbers Novice. That's what you spoke about last time. We're split, aren't we, on the cross country?
Yeah. Oh, we're split on the cross country. I'm a go-to-work fan. And you are the Galvin fan.
Well, I'm more Galvin, yeah. There's a tab here I've got up what you can't see on screen, Mr. Bandit. Well, you've put a few Delta Work bets in, and I've got quite a few Galvin bets in, though. Mounting up nicely, £100 we've got on so far on the cross country, roughly between those two horses. I don't know what these Knit Rockets are doing down there, but so yeah, I'm just gonna, before we fire off, I'll just quickly go through a few tabs so people can have a pause the screen and see. I'm trying to find anything new that we've started. I'm sure there's one or two in here where we've started. Marine National we've hammered this week, obviously with all the news that's come out at 5-2, that's gone in. There you go, some of these coral £10, what's on screen at the minute. We've got Marine National 5-2 and a £10 double with Banbridge. I think Banbridge is good value at 10-1 for the Ryanair. In the pocket for the Turners. I know you always get the Turners wrong, but when you look at the betting for the Turners, spring it up here. Facile Vega, probably not going to run the Turners. Corbett's Cross, Gaelic Warrior, are they going to run in the Turners? Marine National, 10-1, that's not going to run. So you look at the first 4 or 5 in the betting, and then you get to in the pocket at 10-1, 8-1, and you start thinking, well, are the others going to be in the race? So, got there, and then we've also got, there you go, Love Envoi that I've started hammering a bit with Marine National and the £10 double, and there's a £5 double Factor File for the Supreme. So, although we give Factor File for the Ballymore, we do like our spread betting, don't we? So, and especially all this money that you see in this, where are we up to? What did I say we're up to? Just shy of £2,000, don't we? £1,800 is all the bookies' money. In fact, it's not. We're currently, we've had a little bit of a dwindling on some of our these insurance bets, where we tend to get £5 free bets back quite often if one lets us down. We're £29 down, so you know, for £29 we've £1,926 in free bets. So I don't call that bad going, do you? We lost you.
I've just come back there, yeah. It's been going on and off all through the show.
I say I don't call it bad going. £29 cost for 1,900 in free bets.
You can't grumble at that, can you?
No. So I don't think there's, like I said, the news is coming thick and fast, isn't it? And there's quite a lot more shows coming out there. It's always good to get chatting. But I think, in summary for me, I think Factor File is probably good value for the Ballymore at the minute. Fast or Slow for the Gold Cup. Love Envoi for the Mersey Novice. You heard it there from the Bandit. Get on it, as always, responsibly with the bookies' money. Get on it with the Bandit. Boom!